Hello everyone, I got the chance again to build one of our walk-around tanks in the gallery, and I had a great idea of building a jungle with lots of immersed plants above, and then the idea was gone. So I realized we have quite a few big lava stones which we usually don't, and an old ADA tank popped into my mind. So that was the project. The challenge is building it looking nice from four sides. That's what we're going to do today. Just like every other build, the project started with choosing the hardscape. The most important part was to find the big pieces of lava stones to use in this scape. The original tank is big. This is obviously a lot smaller, so that's going to be a challenge. And of course, using the cube, which is not a cube, I know, but I will always refer to it as a cube. It's visible all around. That's always the biggest problem or challenge to overcome. We'll see how it turns out. Let's get to it. These stones are, well, quite heavy. My back is bad, as always, and a bit worse than usual, so that's gonna be fun. Oh. Okay, so I actually wanna decide on which side I use here on the floor and then lift it in like that. So I'm gonna start to just turn this around and look at all the possibilities. This is a really nice texture on it, and also this part I like a lot, so I wouldn't want to hide it if I don't have to. The ugliest side goes on the bottom. Here's a spider having fun. Today actually I don't want the rocks to stick out too much. This one is my second favorite. I hate this sound. With this crazy depth, I can build some perspective that the original tank doesn't have. Biggest problem is Balázs. In a previous build, he destroyed these. He glued on some sand. So I believe that's the one I should hide the most, and the other three are the ones that are gonna be used, because we have an Eheim 2080 underneath, which of course has one outlet and two inlets. Don't be fooled by the color difference. Some of these stones, especially the really big ones, were kept outside and it's been raining this morning, and some of them were kept inside the shop and those are dry, so the colors won't be the same. Yes, I'm trying to avoid having straight lines looking from anywhere. My biggest challenge at the moment is, if you look at the original picture, those stones seem like they are thin pieces. They're actually not, but it's a huge tank. Now these are, well, this is good. It's not too wide, but this one is a bit too bulky for that.
Break it. No,
you don't break this. This is beautiful.
Okay.
If I'm going on the Shanzan Iwagumi logic, I need a rock here that's about this big. Okay, so this is a really nice stone. Ooh. It's a really nice stone, which I'm gonna actually put aside because I might want to replace that one with this. This might work. Okay, so what I don't have at the moment, which I wanted, is this third tip coming out. This side it looks better, but all the other sides it's worse. This won't be the one. And also I can't forget that I'm gonna need one more rock somewhere, somehow. It doesn't need to be big, but now I have four. That's the general rule of not having even numbers. Yeah, so even like the inspiration is 3 islands, and it's tank much bigger than this. Okay, so let's try with 3. It's like a reverse perspective at the moment. So I don't lie, this is the lowest, the middle and the highest. Doesn't look good from here. It can't be correct all around, I've just realized. This is like a really strong view now. Shouldn't I like have this view from there? It's time to f it all up. Actually, I didn't turn this one But if I look at that view that you have, it's really good as it is. And now I need to build around them, the smaller ones. If I follow Homa-san's teachings, where does the flow go in this? I couldn't like it's
around, like it's a whirlpool.
If you don't understand all this flow talk, check out our video about Homa-san's seminar at the ADA headquarters we did a few months ago. He explained this in a way that I'm trying to force myself to implement in the way I build, and it's really difficult. Do I glue or do I tie? Gluing is a lot faster, but I'm not sure how nice it's gonna look in about 2 weeks. Oh, that one. I need to take care of that one. I'm gonna drill a hole that's big enough for the cap to fit in a small rock and just put it on top. The amount of glue that Balázs has used for the sand completely ruined the screwy part. Do you wanna come and clean it for me? Actually, I could drill it all the way through. That would be the simplest to do. And then I can just cover it with moss. Or just put it like this and forget about it. Now, we should do this just for the fun of it. And we should get Laurie to do it just for the fun of it. Here's Laurie. So, we couldn't find Laurie, but we found Gary. So, yeah, I'm gonna ask him to do the drilling.
Sure.
This video is sponsored by Tropica. They have sent the plans for me. And when I sent them the list, I won 48 pots of Pinnatifida and I think about 20 pots of spiky moss and 20 pots of barbieri moss, or bogor moss it's called now. They asked back what the hell I'm doing, so I need to make them proud. This hole should be perfect. Okay, it's actually fine for me like that, and all the smaller stones that I will add will go on the sand. So these will stay on the glass as they are right now. I'm actually gonna brush some of the sand underneath the rocks, or just to the bottom of them, and that's gonna make them more stable. I want it really thin, especially on the edges. I've decided I'm gonna glue. I'm way too lazy to pick out the rocks, tie on the moss, put them back on. And besides the moss, I'm gonna use Hygrophila pinnatifida. Before I start making a mess with cutting up moss, I'm gonna open this. This is a new product from ADA. It's called the Suikei sheet. I've seen it in action in Japan, and we finally have it ourselves, and I can try it. These actually create a wall all around. So whatever I'm doing here, water doesn't come out of it. The pieces of plant are gonna probably stay in it. And I'm gonna start working on the bigger surfaces with the bogor moss. I'm gonna 50% implement what we've learned from Josh Sim. I'm gonna cut up the moss into very small pieces and I'm gonna apply it like that. Of course, Josh ties them. Nice and fresh from Tropica. You can see that it is made out of these lines of moss. By cutting this up into small pieces, I actually force it to start growing into different directions. Take it apart into smaller pieces so it's not tied in together. Don't care where the bottom or the top is, doesn't matter. I don't want to hide everything. So if you look at the inspirational image as well, some bits here and there are visible on the hardscape. So like an area like this, but probably I'm gonna have plants here, but I want to leave this open. I'm gonna put the line and then spread it out and then put the moss on. And actually I'm gonna try to rub in the moss into the surface of the rock as much as I can. While I'm doing this, covering the first big one, which takes forever, Vicky actually started to help me with covering the small rock pieces in spiky moss. I've chosen spiky and barbieri or bogor moss for this build for the exact reason that these are the mosses that cling on hardscape the most. The bogor moss is gonna be flat as it grows. It's gonna be much closer to the original surface of the hardscape, so I want to use that on these big higher areas. Spiky moss is gonna stick out more. I want to use that on the lower part. They both need a lot of trimming if you want to keep them in a nice shape, because they're quick. So it turns out Vicky is not as lazy as I am, so she's actually tying the moss and the small rocks and not gluing. I want most of this stuff visible because it's really nice, this reddish tone in here. What I'm going to do on the top is I'm going to use big patches of moss as they come, because obviously outside the water they're going to grow slower, they're going to grow completely different shape. It's the quick way that's going to be perfectly fine above water. I need it to go underwater to be able to suck up water to keep itself humid. We still have the spider here, still enjoying life. Now we have some extra help again. Besides Vicky, Richie is also here cutting the moss for us. I think I'm gonna need to spray this, what's already glued on, to make sure it doesn't die, because we are quite far off being finished. While Richie is preparing more moss for me, I'm gonna start putting in the small ones that Vicky has tied. Good that I have sand on the bottom, because it's gonna be really easy to clean after fill up. I have a lot of moss that's falling down on the sand that we're going to clean up after the tank is filled up. We're just going to suck those out. But by the time we get there, some of the moss will get into small cracks of the rocks, and after some time moss will start to appear in places where I didn't glue it. And normally that would make me go crazy. In here is just going to make things much more natural. Yeah, that's it for the small stones. Thank you. Don't need any more. Now I just need to put all the leftover moss. I think I'm gonna mix the two, and I'm gonna start putting moss on the smaller stones. Some of it visible, some of it covered. That's it. Aiming for the nice heavier textures to be visible. Vicky is going to start preparing the pinnatifida. Luckily, it's in vitro and it's the liquid type, so shouldn't be too big of a job. And then we start applying the big chunks of pinnatifida all around. What we're going for is using them like this, as bunches, and we're gonna do complete lines. It's going to be a lot of work trimming this tank and keeping it in shape. Whenever you see a leaf that's too big or a new shoot that's too high, you just trim it off. And then the plant gets used to this behavior and it tries to be smaller and smaller. Around the big green areas, I think it's going to look like a nice contrast. I'm going to have three colors. I'm going to have the black of the rock, I'm going to have the green, lush green of the moss, and reddish tint on the pinnatifida. So this is actually quite a long one. It took about 5 hours, even with the help I got. As mentioned before, the plants were sponsored by Tropica, and I tend to go a bit overboard with the plants when I plan out how much I need. But this time I've actually used all the plants. This is the type of scape that if you build it at home, you could use about 5 portions of moss if you have patience. I think still achieved the minimalistic look I was going for. It's not an actual replica of the tank that I took as inspiration, because that's all it was, inspiration. To this day, one of my favorite tanks. This is it. Let's see how it looks in a few weeks' time. So here we are a few weeks later, and well, the tank on one hand looks almost finished, matured. On the other hand, it's far from it. And the reason is the plants need quite some time and quite some trimming to get to the effect that I wanted to give. If you look at the tank, it all looks really nice. The plants have grown a lot. Actually, the Hygrophila pinnatifida has reached the point where it should be already trimmed. but it doesn't give the reddish colors that I want. The reason for it is that the red color is gonna start coming after trimming multiple times. And well, this tank hasn't seen a scissor since it's been started. The moss has started to overgrow a bit as well. I think we're gonna trim it in 1 or 2 days time, get it flat again, get it growing once again. As you trim the moss, these sticking out leaf-like bits just go away. It just gets bushy, and it's gonna make a more unified surface or look. While it looks almost finished, it still needs time for what I wanted to achieve. But that's the beauty of aquascaping. Even in a simple setup like this, it's going to evolve and it's going to change over the months to come. As for the moss on the immersed part, I was a bit afraid if they would dry. But what we actually do is whenever someone from the staff walks by this tank, they just come and do this, just splash on the moss, and that's it. That helps a lot. As for fish, well, I've gone for one of my favorite combination, which I've been banned to use for years in the gallery because I've used it too much. And that combination is amber tetras and Cubotyras boras. I love this combination. The fish look almost identical shape-wise. Obviously, amber tetras are orange colored, while Cubotyras are green. And they usually tend to swim in different areas. So usually the amber tetras swim in the middle and the Cubotyras swim on the top. But since this is quite a shallow tank, they almost swim in the same area. And they are really good in pulling each other. And for a walk-around tank, that's really important. This way, the fish are swimming round and round all the time, which is, well, of course, a nice addition for the gallery. I've seen some children running around following the fish the other day, so that's effect is achieved. That's it for today. I'm really happy. I think it's really close to the inspirational image I had. I think I've managed to make a nice look from all around, all 4 sides, but you're gonna be the judge of that. Please let me know in the comments if you like it, and see you next time. Goodbye.